Okay, so I'm going to right click on this Bitrise DMG, open, and I'm going to move the Bitrise icon into applications. And now I'm going to try and launch Bitrise from there. All right, I'm going to click open. Let's eject it from here. Cool. So I have something new on my top right. I've got this Bitrise icon in the menu bar. I'm going to click on connect. So I need to sign in with my browser. Let me click on that and let me bring my browser window here. Let's move this to side. I'm going to let me click continue. So Bitrise desktop app will have access to all of this information, which I will allow access to. All right, so it looks like I'm signed in. I can close this browser window and I can see some more action on the Bitrise Mac app. So here is a list of all the workspaces that I can access. I'm going to choose the workspace that I want to see on my Mac. So that is KV Playground. Let me select that. All right, the next thing I'm asked to do is add a project. There are a few other options here. Let me just quickly run you through what they are. So account, I'm signed in as this account and I can sign out. I have chosen this workspace and I can change the workspace from this dropdown. There are a few controls for the builds. We'll talk about those later. There is also an option to enable notifications. We'll come back to that. And there is an about section as well. Let's go back to projects. Let's add a project. All right, so I can pick a project or track a local directory. Let me go ahead with the first option. Let's pick a Bitrise project. Let's click on next. All right, so these are the projects that I have in my workspace. I'm interested in this project, so let me select that and click on next. So it says branch filter optional, meaning I can very well just continue without adding a branch filter. It's an optional filter and it lets me include certain branches or exclude certain branches, and it also supports patterns. Let me come back to branch filters in a bit. Let me click on next. The last thing before I can add the project is notifications. So this is very specific to this project and notify me about bills. I have the option to turn notifications off for this project or the option to be notified just for failures, just for the builds that failed or any build that finished. I'm going to click on failures only. I'm going to click on add project. The project has been added and I can see a summary of the project information. I'm going to close this and I'm going to see my menu bar app populate. You see the list of builds from that project that match your filters. And for every build, there is information about the status and the commit message. You see the name of the branch. You see the name of the workflow or the pipeline. So here I can see that it's the name of the workflow is primary. And you also see the start time of every build and the total runtime. And then on the right, I can also open up the link to the corresponding commit. Or if it was a pull request, then I can open up the pull request. So let me try that. Let's start with this link here. All right, it's loading. All right, so I can see the commit. Let's try the pull request this time. I can see the pull request. All right, so I have a shortcut to either the commit or the pull request, depending on what triggered the build. And if I want to see the build itself, I can just click on the build card and let me log in. All right, so it takes me to the build directly as well. So effectively, the builds that I see on Bitrise are now accessible on the menu bar app. Let's try running a new build right now and see what happens. I'm going to start a build. Let's run the primary. Let's click on start. All right, a new build has started. All right, so the color of the menu bar icon has changed to purple, which means there's a new build running. I can see the status reflected here. Let's say I only care about the builds which are on the main branch. In that case, I would include a branch filter for the main branch. So now if I see my list of builds, I only see a subset of all the builds on the project. let's try looking at the alternative way of adding a project. So I'm going to click add a project, and I'm going to track a local directory. So let's select that. The next thing I'm being asked to do is choose a folder. So I'm going to choose this folder. I can see that there was a Git repository tracked with this folder. I'm going to click on next, and I have one more option this time, show only builds since the last push. So I'm going to leave this unchecked for now, and I'm going to say notify me for failures only, and let us add the project. Now I see the builds which correspond to this local directory and the branches that were found on here. Let me try a branch switch. Let me create a new branch. Let's say git branch demo menu bar walkthrough. All right, and let's check out their demo menu bar walkthrough. All right, so you can see the current branch update here, and that's the branch that is being tracked. And now if I look at the list of builds on Bitrise, I still don't see the builds on the branch that I am, as you can see in the branch information there. And that's because this branch does not exist on my remote. So let me just push to remote. Okay, so I have just pushed a new branch. Let's see what you see on Bitrise. All right, so on the Bitrise Mac app, you still see the list of builds from previously, and that is because I have not checked this field, which is show only builds since the last push. Let me click on that, and now if I open up Bitrise, I see that it's empty. Why? Two reasons. One, it is tracking this new branch that I have added, and I am only filtering for builds since the last push, and I have not run any builds since then. Let's change that. Let's go back to Bitrise. Let's go to edit workflow, and let's change that on Bitrise. I'm going to switch to this new branch that I created. So now let me try running this workflow on this new branch. Let us start a build, and keep an eye on the Bitrise Mac app. The new build has started here, so soon it should appear on the Mac app on the right. Let us see if that changes in. So the build is successful, and I can see a green dot here. All right, so there is a new build that shows up, which has no commit message, and it corresponds to the branch that is being tracked. So that is how you would use all of these controls. So that is it on the demo. So look, the build itself isn't faster. What changes is where your attention stays. So right now, every push costs you a tap switch, a context switch, and this Mac app kills that. The status comes to you. That is it from me. Happy coding.